Hey guys, Daniel here, welcome back to the Motor Dan's Garage. Today we're having a look at the BMW and my heated grips do not work. They didn't work when I bought it, so it's about time I fix the issue and get it going because it's bloody freezing. Right, a few things we need to check. If you remove your seat, come down here and we'll have a look at the fuse to start with. So if we have a look at the fuse box here, the heated grips fuse is number 7, and that is counting, number 1 is on the left hand side of the bike. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I've got a 5 amp fuse in there. It should be a 4 amp fuse factory, but I couldn't really find a 4 amp fuse. So to test that fuse, just got a multimeter here, and this is like the cheapest of cheap multimeters that you can buy. First thing you always want to do with a multimeter is just test your leads. So just put it on resistance and select the scale, 200 ohms in this case, and plug the lead, touch the leads together. Now there's a bit of resistance there, but those leads are working. Right, so now we need to test this fuse. To test this fuse, you want to put it onto voltage, and we want to put the ignition on. So with the ignition on, I hold the negative on the battery. You can always test the multimeter as well by just putting both on the battery. So I've got 12.05 volts there. Right, so we're looking for battery voltage at the fuse there. So to test the fuse, you test both sides of the fuse. 11.8 volts there, so that's close enough. Now, so you'll always have power on one side of the fuse, and to check if the fuse is good, you should have power on the other side of the fuse, which means it's going through the fuse. So that fuse is good. We need to move on to the next stage. Right, so with the fuel tank off, we need to come up here. Now this is the plug here for the heated grips. This just sits in the middle of these plugs here. It's a white 4-pin plug. There's just also this blue plug in here which sits underneath it. If we disconnect this, we can test for voltage here. So the voltage, I'm sure, is on the black wires. So it should be the bottom two there. And I've got 12 volts there and 12 volts there. You can also test the earth of the circuit by putting both onto there and there, and there and there. So we've got a good earth and a good ground. So that means our switch is working because the switch sends voltage to this plug. It means the fuse is good, the battery is good, all the wiring in between is good. The other side of this plug goes straight to the grips. So this side of the plug here goes straight to the grips. So we've just proved that everything apart from the grips so far is testing good. Now to test the grips themselves, you want to put your multimeter on resistance, ohms, and I just use a 200 scale. And we want to test each circuit. So rather than front probe these female connectors, you always want to back probe them so you don't open them up. So we've got no resistance there, and we can knock it up the scales in case we've got a high resistance. And there's nothing there whatsoever. So there's an open circuit on that heated grip. Now if we check the other side as well, again, move it up the scale. If you're going to buy a multimeter, I'd recommend getting an auto ranging one. This one is just a cheap and nasty, but it does the job. So we've got 2 open circuits on both heated grips, so that is our fault. Both our heated grips have open circuits in them, which means there's a broken wire there. So I'd already tested that, so I knew that was the fault, so I've ordered parts. Now I was going to get genuine BMW grips, but the heated grip elements are over $200 each, so it's really not worth it. So what I did was I bought some Oxford grips. Now these were 50 bucks, I think they're 45 bucks actually each, delivered from Moto 1. They're just spare grips. I didn't buy the whole set. That was about $180 for the whole set, so I just needed the grips. My last blue BMW GS had the same thing done to it before I bought it, so I know this works and it should do the job. So these are just the Oxford Advanced Adventure heated grips, and all I'm going to do is cut this plug off here and solder it onto the plug on the bike from the old heated grips, and that way we can still use our original switch with the 2 heat settings and just with these grips instead. That keeps everything looking factory and keeps that switch there working. So the grips here, I've just removed this bar end here, which was an Allen key, and to get access to the grip. Now the grips have actually got screws in them. So if you peel back this part here, there is a Phillips screw in there, and there's another one in the bottom. And that should allow the grip just to pull off. Right, there we go. Now if we actually have a look inside the grip there, if you guys can see, there is the wiring, and it's completely broken. The original wiring should come down through the middle of this bar here and come up the inside of the handlebar. Actually, I think it might come in the switch and then go down. So these grips are faulty. We'll give this a quick clean up just with a rag, maybe some emery paper, and then we can get the Oxford grip and slap it on there. If you had some wax and grease and whatever, just slap that on there and clean it up for the glue. And we're just going to slide this on and we're going to glue it on. So if we put it on to start with, get our orientation right. Now you want to make sure that it's not going to hit the clutch, and you want to make sure you've got access to your switches. On the BMW, I've got these indicator switches here, so I don't want it to interfere with that, so I'm going to pull it around just a wee bit, but just making sure I'm not hitting the clutch there, which I'm not. So that's where I want it to go on this bike. I can tuck the wiring up behind the indicator switch, so I'm not getting involved with that, and it's still out of the way of the clutch. So we'll pull this back off and we'll just put some glue on there. Now this is just some cheap grip glue. I just bought it from Moto One when I ordered the grips. So just slap some on there. Slide this up. Make sure I'm in the correct orientation, and then we can let that sit. One thing I probably should have done first was try the bar end on and see if I needed to cut the grip. We'll do that now. We can always cut it in place. It's not going to be too much of an issue. I don't think we're going to need to anyway. I think that's about right. You tighten up these handguards, just make sure your clutch lever is free. Sometimes your clutch lever can get caught on the handguard and cause you clutch slipping issues. That should be fine there. That's all good to let that glue dry. Right, if we come around to the other side now, it might be a wee bit trickier on this side because we've got the throttle tube here. If we unbolt the bar end, just a 5mm Allen key. What I'm going to do is cut the grip off, just with a Stanley blade. I can see in there the wiring is the exact same on this side. Now if you were just replacing your grips here, you'd have to be very careful. If your heat and grip element was actually okay, because you can actually you'll obviously damage it by cutting into it. Because that's one thing with these BMW ones, you can actually just replace the grips and not the heated grip element. But obviously our element is stuffed. Because I do actually quite like the BMW grips. They're quite soft and nice to grip. Right, there we go. So you can actually see the grip element there. It's just like a big coil of wire. And this side is the exact same. That wiring was split. There's a bit of a raised lip here. I'm just going around and trying to cut it off, and then hopefully they can slide on. I'm going to actually need to pull out the wiring. Best way is actually just to peel it off. Right, so that's most of that cleaned up. I was able just to pick it off, really. There's still quite a bit of, there's like a gnarled edge along either side there. Now that should help it grip. I can just squeeze the actual grip on. So I think we're going to go with that. I will have to cut this one down a bit so it doesn't hit on there. But I should be able to do that when it's on and glued on, and then just follow this round with a knife. So if we stick some glue on, I don't think we need too much on this side, to be fair. We want to line this up. So we're not hitting the brakes or the indicator. Now I don't think we're going to actually be able to cut that down all the way, so we might just have to put a couple of washers in here and space the bar end out a bit because of this big lip on the inside here. It's too fat for this to fit over. Yeah. See, I think I can only cut up to here on the grip, and it's probably in about here. So I don't want to damage the heated grip element, so just put a couple of washers in there. Right, so I trimmed this down a wee bit. It's still going to be hitting on the bar end when it's tightened up. So I've just grabbed a couple of washers here, stick them in the bar end, and that's going to clear it. And hopefully, I'm going to slacken off the grip at the other end. Not the grip, and put my bolt in. So that's on there, it's not contacting the grip. So you can see the space between the bar and the grip. It's maybe a wee bit excessive. If I can get a thinner washer, I'd really put that instead of that fat one I've got in there. But I mean, that's not hitting the grip, and the grip moves freely. Grip's a wee bit tight, but I think it was like that before. I need to load my cables up, I think. It's not snagging on the grip anywhere. So that's the heated grips fitted, we just got to wire them up now. So if we come down to our wiring here, this is their plug here for the original heated grips. I want to trace that back a wee bit and cut it. So I'll snip this cable tie here. And we want this to come in, if we follow this wiring down the handlebar wiring, allowing it plenty of slack for the throttle movement there. We want this to be pretty close to the end, to be fair. So I'll even probably cut this about here. And I'll just cut this right at the plug. And then we'll just get a blade and open these up. Now there's quite a wire thickness difference here. Now both of these heated grips were designed to carry 4 amps. That's what the fuse that comes with your Oxford one carries. So, I mean, they both should be fine. The other thing you could do would be to get actual terminals that fit in this plug and wire them onto here. I don't have terminals that fit them, so this is what I'm going to do. It will be fine. I think on the heated grips it's blue's positive and brown's negative, but for heated grips it doesn't matter which way you put it, so I'm just going to put brown to brown and blue to black. Now I want to grab a couple bits of heat shrink and slide it over So I want one big bit to go over the whole lot. And then small bits on the individual wires. Twist the wires together. Right guys, that's a fast and easy way to fix your heated grips on your GS if your grips are at fault. It's much cheaper than fitting the stock ones, and I think it looks okay. I mean, it doesn't look factory, but it looks okay for an aftermarket product. I'm still utilising the stock switch and most of the stock wiring, stock fuse, everything like that. I'll jump out on the bike, and all I've got to do is just solder up the other side, and then we'll jump on the bike and see how good it is. Right guys, so how are these heated grips holding up? Well, really good actually. I really like how it's just off the factory switch. I can do it with one finger. They heat up fast and they just work. I would say they're just as hot, if not hotter than the stock ones. I had the stock ones on my old 1150gs back home, and like I said, I had these on my old blue 1150 out here. That's where I did them again. Real simple install, and yeah, no problems whatsoever. It's super simple, 50%, 100%, that's all you really need. I generally have it 100% until they get hot, and then knock it down to 50%. No problems whatsoever. So that was a super simple install. I hope if you guys liked it, and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you all later. See ya.